Hello everyone, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is Sunday. It's the last Sunday of April. So it's also the Sunday before my birthday. Big 3-0. That's a little bit terrifying. So yeah. How is everyone? Good. Good, I'm glad to hear it. Alright, so we don't have any haul this week. Wait, do I? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm gonna go grab something, because I don't remember if I showed it last week, and if I didn't, I don't want to be remiss in that. So, alright. So, possible haul if I already showed it, I'm sorry. I feel like I very well might have, but I don't remember well enough at this point to say for certain. So we're just going to say that I didn't show it and you're going to see it again if I did. Alright, so we've got one little bit of haul, a little bit of update to Mania plans, whips, as per usual, definitely my discussion on Tin Man, Q&A, although I don't think I had very much in the way of Qs this week, and then obviously my Oz item of the week. Gotta sneeze. Oof, bless me. Alright. So we'll jump in, we'll do the Q&A first. Oh, first off, thanks to everyone who... I was actually wrong when I said what I did about 22 count Hardinger. I was under the impression that 22 count Hardinger was the same as 11 count Ada. And I'm guessing it probably still would be, but it seems that the vast majority of people really only use them for Hades, and use them 2/1 doing a 10th stitch. So it doesn't make it the same as 11 count Ada. So there you go. So I was wrong. Alright, Ashlyn Norwood asked, what do I do with my finished projects? Most of them go into a baggie. Some of them actually get finished and framed. Others go into a baggie because I have no idea what to do with them. E.F. Bauer, thank you for pointing out that Endora was falling. I got that fixed. I didn't realize it, and I saw your comment. I was like, what? And I came in here and I went, ooh, I see that now. So thank you for that. J.D. Olden, you're very welcome. I'm glad that there are people out there who like the Oz books, and hopefully I'm inspiring some people to actually go read the books. Rhonda Saxion, yes, I have the one that's not the Jasmine Beckett Griffiths or the others. I have the one that's the really pretty pastel watercolory one of the Four Friends on the Yellow Brick Road. I do have it. I have no idea when I'll start it. And I'm actually seeing from the thumbnail that I've already shown this thing, so I'm not actually going to do that. Alright. Bunny on Julie, that's awesome that you actually have the Wicked Witch Castle. I've only seen pictures of them. I've never actually seen that one in person. I have seen the Munchkinland in person, but I've never actually seen the Witch Castle in person. And yes, I would love to see your Oz stuff. Alright, Christine, you're always welcome to post as many times as you would like. You said that I didn't show Wonderland long enough for you. So, I will do that now. Here it is. I'll take the picture out of the protector. Alright, so it's got the Queen of Hearts, and I think that's the King of Hearts at the start. You have Candy Hearts by Eat Me. You have Croquet Stick Forest, and you've got the croquet sticks and the White Rabbit. And then you've got 74 Miles over by the Mad Hatter, Mushroom Mountains by a card, Tweedledee and Tweedledum at the Pool of Tears Swamp with the caterpillar, and then the Cheshire Cat. So it's set up like Candyland. And I've seen this stitched up. I'm doing mine all in DMC because I don't want to spend all that much, because it's charted with needlepoint silk. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 17. So that would be about 35, minimum probably of $35 just for that. And I'm trying not to do that. Christine Cannon asked which Mary Englebright book contained the Christmas pattern. And that would be Mary Englebright's Cross Stitch for All Seasons. I believe it is out of print. It was $30 when it was originally in print. I've seen it multiple times at local used bookstores for about $5. I think that's what I paid. It was about $5 for it. And it's got a whole bunch of really, really pretty ones. It's got autumn, winter, spring, summer. And it's got collections in there of it. One of the ones that I would eventually like to do, but we'll see how I feel after doing we'll see how I feel after doing I guess it's in the other one. We'll see how I feel after doing the Believe Santa, is the one that I believe is the Be It Ever So Humble, There's No Place Like Home. It's the one with the house and the mother and son hugging, and I had a similar one from my mother that she'd done as a banner. Oh, excuse me, it was $7.99. And I'd like to do that one. She took and she laminated it over, or did something, it was like screen printed somehow. And then she took puffy paint over it and sort of jazzed it up and then put it on a little small banner, and it said Garrett's Room or Garrett's Place, one of the two. I forget exactly which. But that's one of my other real favorite pieces of hers. Let's see. Stitchy Ryan asked for Blue Jeans and Daisies. Are you using the Weeks Dye Works floss or DMC? I'm using the DMC. And I've personally loved the way it turned out. That's one thing I will... the many things, because Belinda Carlson Ace is a great designer. One of the things she's really good with is going through and really taking the time to match the DMC and her Weeks Dye Works so that you get the same general result. Obviously, there's not going to be the variegation, but it's still really, really beautiful. Lisa S., you are more than welcome to use my quote to make a needle minder. And if you're on Facebook, shoot me a message. That way we can communicate colors and address. Chris, you're welcome. Alright. Katie D asks, how can I join Stitch Mania, or where is it? It is a Facebook group started by me and 2 other Stitchers, and now I'm the only one of the originals left, but the Stash Queen is my co-admin. You just have to look for Stitch Mania, but the thing where most people get confused, it's May, like the month, then Nia, so it's Maynia. The reason being was it's the first 15 days of May, Mania. And for a long time, I put a hyphen between the May and the Nia, but that just sort of dropped away. So I've seen it styled both ways. I was really trying to push the hyphen, but no one else was really following through, so, you know. So it's on Facebook, and we have all sorts of fun. Karen Honia asked if I'd seen the Doctor Who shows. I've seen the first season and sort of enjoyed, well, the first series, excuse me, and sort of enjoyed it. And I was just about to start this. I think I got one episode of the second series watched, and they took it off Netflix because BBC America is about to launch its own streaming service. So, no, I have not seen anything beyond season 1. To Heather Stitches, you're very welcome. I always welcome criticism like that, you know, or, hey, you know, like E.F. Bauer pointing out that Endora was falling. Stuff like that is always welcome. It's the comments that are snide or rude or just uncalled for. If it's something that truly causes a problem, that's something I'd like to know about. If it's not going to cause a problem, or then I really don't necessarily... I mean, I'll take the criticism, but I'm less likely to follow through on it. So definitely, you know, mouth sounds, I can completely understand that. So I'm doing my best to cut down on those. Alright, Amy M121 has a question about washing. Have you ever washed a finished piece? If so, how? You're doing a piece with DMC. I think you're you might do it before the border. DMC is 99% of the time color fast. There can always be an issue, but generally it's color fast, you'll be safe. Where I would be very careful is when you're doing hand-dyed threads. And what I've started doing is I generally will pre-soak them and blot them out to get any excess dye off of them, so that if I need to go back and wash the pattern, or the piece, I can. The reason being, and if you go back to about a year ago, I did a piece for Mania. It's hanging in my bedroom now. And Mom, when she was ironing it, because she didn't trust me with her iron, sprayed some water on it, and color started to bleed. So then I got to have this massive panic attack. So I soaked it overnight in cold water. It came out. Everything was good to go. So that's that. I don't necessarily recommend washing it. If the fabric is very dirty and it's going to show, then by all means do. I tend to be very, very careful and neat with my projects, so I haven't had that issue. I also don't tend to stitch on solid white for that reason. Linda Bazarski said that someday I may do the... Asked which shade would I be doing. It would be that Wizard of Oz one that I mentioned earlier. Alright, covered in cat hair. Thank you for the recommendation of Shadow from Picture This Plus. I'm not sure. I did not get the promotion. I don't know if I said that I was up for promotion. I did not get the promotion, but I'm completely okay with it. So I'm not sure what I'm doing with my birthday money. I may be ordering a lap stand. I'm strongly leaning towards the Elan. E-L-A-N. I'm not really sure the pronunciation. But I do need to go to my LNS, so I will look to see if they do carry Picture This Plus. I'll see if they have Shadow. The one issue I run into with darker fabrics is I have a lot of trouble seeing them. So we'll see, but I do like the idea of the Shadow. I did look that one up. That is a really good color. The William Morris book, I showed it in my video right after Christmas, because it was a Christmas present from my boyfriend. Here it is again. I haven't stitched anything out of it yet, but one of the things I like about it is not only do you get your patterns, but it also gives you really good directions, and it talks as well about the different collections and themes, and William Morris himself, which I think is really cool. So, I highly recommend the book. And Chandra, you were not a jerk. Half Stitch Cross Stitch asked if you're supposed to post pictures of our starts in the Facebook group each time, or is that optional? It's optional. Most of us probably will. A lot of us will probably limit it to the event page for Mania, and then I'll probably do a weekly post in the main group. Guidelines or tips? Not really. Organization is always good. Have fun is my only other one. Let's see. Alright. Okay. And then I had one that just came in while I was doing the video from Shirley Miranaka. One Oz and wasn't cross-stitch. Question, if you could have one thing in the land of Oz and bring it back, what would it be? The shoes. Or maybe the magic belt, but most likely the shoes. And the cross-stitch question, do the Mirabilis have any specialty stitches besides beads and French knots? Does it have fractional stitches? And I'm glad I'm spelling your last name right. There are some fractional stitches. I've seen Lazy Daisies show up a time or two, but nothing more than Lazy Daisies, fractionals, backstitch, and some French knots. But I don't have any French knots standing out in my head on any of mine, so there may not actually be any French knots. But I will also say I don't have all that many Mirabilis, so there could be. I know there are people out there who do a lot. But I know I've seen Lazy Daisies and the fractionals. But nothing, not like Rhodes Hearts or, Eyelet Roses. None of those things. Alright, so, moving right along. We will do, first, I decided that I was probably going to have too much anxiety if I used my Sals as starts during Mania. So I decided I'm going to do those this week, because I wasn't really sure what to work on. And so that means I have to come up with new things. So I've decided on the new 3 and then a 4th that I'll get to in a moment. Because I'm going to do postcards after Mania is over, because postcards I'm okay waiting on. So, to replace one of them, I'm going to do the first Stitchy Box kit, which was My Heart for You from Keslin's. And it is a complete kit. Yeah. So that will be one of them. It will probably replace, postcards, where it was in the lineup, which I don't remember which day it was. Then, I have 3 digital patterns. I am going to go ahead and do the Clouds Factory Wizard of Oz, which looks like that. It's just the 4. It's the main characters. I think I may do some character rearrangements to center the friends, and I'm going to probably put the 2 witches on either side. So I may do some rearranging of where they all are. And then obviously I will be doing some color changes, and I'm probably going to make a slight change to the lion, because right now it looks like he has nipples, and that's not okay. That's just weird. This was one of their first designs, so they're not as detailed as other ones are, so there's going to be some of my usual. But I'm going to do it on Ghoulish, which is going to be my first opal as well, from Under the Sea Fabrics. So I don't know how well it's, the side that's actually got the sparkle to it. Yeah, there's not as much, but there is sparkle to it. I've never worked with an opalescent, so we'll see how this goes. We will see how this goes. So that will go in place of the my lion. And then to replace the magical creatures, come on. I'm going to be doing one from Margaret Tipton Cientec. I am not going to attempt. I'm sorry, Margaret. I'm not attempting your last name. She has her own. She is the admin for Cross Stitch. I'm Not Ashamed of It, I believe. She just started her own design company. It's called Laughing in Stitches. It's on Etsy. And she has this one called Worlds I Live In, and it's six little rectangles. You've got Neverland, Oz, Narnia, Wonderland, Hogwarts, and Middle-earth, or the Shire. And currently I'm thinking I may do it on Sandy Shores from Die Stitch Love, but since it is full coverage, I'm thinking I may try and just find some sort of like antique ivory that's a little bit more generic, because I want the, since it is full coverage, the color's not really going to show. So I'm debating still, but that's definitely what I'm going to do. And then, as any of you on Facebook saw, we had Community Banking Month in April, or this month, and My Department's Week was this week, and we did Wizard of Oz, and it was a big to-do. We're already discussing next year, and we're leaning towards Harry Potter, which means I needed to start Giant Harry Potter sooner from Clouds Factory. So, and I know most of you know what that looks like, but here's the picture anyways. So, there it is. I will start it on the first day of Mania. And I'm just doing it on Witchelt Antique White 32 count. It's a half yard. So, nothing too fancy about it. I got it at Hobby Lobby, not last Christmas, but the Christmas before, and it had already been opened. So, instead of being $32, I only paid $11 for it. So, that is what I shall be starting on. So I ended up with a lot more Clouds Factory than I intended, but, that happens. Alright. And so that brings us to our whips. So this is where I ended on Blue Jeans. I didn't get a lot of time to stitch this week because I was getting ready for Community Banking Month. And so I didn't do as much what time I did, because it's the one, since it's my focus on the finish, if I'm not going to have a lot of time to stitch, I'm not going to put it towards that. So today I will get another half hour in on it. Which that'll hopefully finish out the little basket and the leaves. So that was where I got there. And then I started on Seaflora for the week. And I spent all of Sunday, and I got that green ribbon done, and I got the tails started filling in, and then I kind of got bored. Even though I'm getting very close to a finish. So I got kind of bored with it. I think because I had just worked on it too recently. I just wasn't quite ready to go back to it yet like I thought I was. And nothing was really calling out to me, and I had this moment of absolute weakness, because I'm a terrible person, so I started Longfellow's Round Tower. That's why Harry Potter is in there now. This is on the Garrett's Time Machine. It's all in DMC, and it is freaking fun. I've had a blast working on this. So this is the first page, so I got all of the border of the first page done in about 2 days, and then I started in on the tower. So far, the only specialty stitches I've encountered are long stitches and petite. That's 1/1 on 32 count. That took a while, but it looks amazing. This was a lot of fun. It's a Tempting Tangles design. And I'm having an absolute blast on it. So this is definitely one that I'll keep working on. And had I had more time, I would have probably tried to at least finish the page. And then I started in on good old Cowardly Lion from Books. I'm not doing a ton of changes. I've got that much done. So I've got his muzzle done. I'm using Camel Brown from Water Lilies. I think it's Wildflowers. It's Karen Collection. Because it's a little bit fuzzy, and I wanted that first mane. I'm also going to use Whisper Thread for the back stitching on here. And then I chose some different color Crinix for the butterfly, who I'm actually going to attach off of his mane. But otherwise, I'm doing him exactly as charted, because he was pretty perfect the way he was charted. So I'm going to try. I may manage to get him finished today. I don't think I'll quite get it today. It'll probably be tomorrow. But I think I'll get him done sooner rather than later. So that's my plan there, and then I'll work on the May Magical Creatures. And then Sunday should be the new starts. Mania! I don't know for sure if I may do a birthday video, I may not. We'll see. It's going to kind of depend on what I get. If not, definitely the Sunday morning video will be my haul. I do need I've got to figure out, because I want to do the border in Harry Potter. I want to do it all in silks, and I want to get silks that are a little closer to what I actually think they should be than I think they're charted for. I'll probably use the same silks in the banners. So, if anyone has any suggestions on solid color silks, I'd appreciate it. Yeah. So. Alright. I guess that brings us to Oz. So, the discussion on Tin Man. Tin Man is one of two characters who is in every single book. At least to my knowledge. I can't remember one that doesn't feature him in some capacity. He was a little bit of a breakout character from the stage show, he and the Scarecrow both, because they were sort of a comedy duo in the 1902 stage musical. And subsequently, Baum uses him a lot. I know we discussed a little bit during Tin Man Month some of his backstory. He was in love with a Munchkin maiden. Her mother was very lazy. Her mother traded a goat and a cow to the Witch of the East for her to enchant his axe. And first he lopped off an arm, he went to a tinsmith and got the arm replaced, and then he lopped off the other arm and, again, had it replaced, and so on and so forth, until he was completely made of tin. Unfortunately, there was no heart, so he no longer loved the Munchkin maiden. He meets Dorothy, journeys to Emerald City, gets a heart. He then, after the death of the Wicked Witch of the West, the Winkies really, really like him, and so he decides to go back after Dorothy returns to Kansas, to the land of the West, to become its ruler. He remains its ruler through the duration of the series. After Ozma is restored to the throne, the Scarecrow comes and lives in a giant ear of corn not far from the Tin Woodman's tin castle, and they go on their own multiple adventures, including in the Tin Woodman of Oz, to find the Munchkin Maiden, Nimmy Amy, who has another lost love, the Tin Soldier, who met a similar fate, but she lives with a man that's made up from the parts of the soldier and Tin Man, also known as Nick Chopper being his full name. So yeah, so it's a little bizarre. He comes a little bit. Baum did have a fascination with a little bit of a fascination with speculative fiction, so he is a little bit robot-esque. He's the character that is the first one to be redone over for steampunk illustrations, for obvious reasons. Personally, I think Baum would have been a huge fan of steampunk if he were alive to see it. Yeah, so that's kind of the Tin Man. He is made all of tin after he gets... when the flying monkeys come to take Dorothy during Wizard, they drop him on some rocks and he's just badly damaged. So when the Winkies repair him, they redo all of his joints so they're nickel-plated instead of tin to prevent them from rusting. And obviously I went with rusty joints because Tin Man. He's also given a new axe handle that's made entirely of gold, which is pretty awesome. Although I say, were they nickel-plated or did they actually do gold for his... They did have to patch him. Yeah, no, it doesn't say. So maybe I just made up the nickel-plated part. I don't remember now. But it's not in the book, so I don't know where I got that from. I may have just made that up. But they did definitely give him a gold axe handle. And so eventually when I do my shiny Tin Man, that's going to be what I do. He'll have a gold handle. So. Alright, so there's the Tin Man. Finally, the last Oz piece for April. And I debated for a while over what I was going to show. And this was the easiest way to show what I wanted to go with. For me, obviously, my Oz fascination started early. And in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a ton of Oz merchandise. And I had the dolls, the multi-toys dolls, which are in really terrible shape, so they're not coming out to be seen. I had those, I had the storybook playsets, I had all sorts of Oz stuff. But I didn't really have books. And there used to be this fabulous mom-and-pop children's bookstore not far from my house. And we were in there, and they had a copy of The World of Oz, which was my first Oz reference book. And I have 2 copies now. One that's mine, original, that's really beat up, and then one that's in better shape. They also had this book called The Wonderful Cutouts of Oz. And they were a series of 24, I believe, cutouts of all the different characters from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Aunt Em and Uncle Henry included. It had fighting trees, it had the Kalidahs, who I didn't know who were at that point. You know, Glinda, the Wicked Witch of the West, obviously Dorothy, and so on. And they were designed by a man named Rob Roy McFay. And Rob Roy had the goal, and it's mentioned in the book, because I do have an uncut copy of them, that they were sort of a pre-release to drive some buzz for a future animated version of the book. And it was a combination, the artwork was to be a mix of W. W. Dinslow, who illustrated Wizard, and John Arneal, who illustrated every single other Oz book. And it never happened. It was getting close to going into production, and then he unfortunately died of AIDS. So his stuff is highly, highly collectible in the Oz community, because they're beautiful. I mean, he really, truly loved the Oz books, and he was a fantastic artist. Well, last year at convention, and I think I said this maybe then, I found, or one of the sellers in the marketplace had a print for the poster signed by Rob Roy. And it was meant to be a pre-release. And it's one of, I forget how many, but it was limited. My number's on there so I can look and see. And it was only $75 because there's a little bit of a water stain on it that I normally can't even pick out. I can if I'm looking really close. So I picked it up. Maybe this was limited. Maybe not. Okay. But it was already framed. So here it is. The teaser poster for The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. It's Dorothy's original adventures in an animated world of wonder. With the credits, and then down here, and it's a little bit hard to see, but the little rating says, G, Glinda approved for everyone. Dorothy's blonde, as she is in the later books. And it's got the tornado, and the poppy field, and the Emerald City, and then the wizard's balloon. And some flying monkeys. So it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. It actually hangs in our living room. And it's one of my absolute favorite pieces in my collection. So, alright, so that's the end of that. I guess this is as good a time as any to wrap up. So I will see you all next week. I hope everyone has a great day, great week, and I'll see y'all soon.